Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, our podcast of note. We actually were the 2024 Best of Bainbridge and Best of Kitsap, which we're proud of. And you actually, right now, this week, you can still vote for the next year's Best of Bainbridge online. You can check that out. Today, we're going to be talking with Rob Wagner, who has a wonderful collection of abstract and manipulated photography. Before we do that, I want to thank Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island for sponsoring Something to Talk About. Fieldstone is going to have a summer bash on Thursday, July 31st from 11 to 4. You have to register in advance. It's just $10 for adults and $5 for seniors and kids. All proceeds from this party benefit Bainbridge Prepares. You can show your support for resilience and check out the beautiful Fieldstone campus up on Rolling Bay. To learn more, call 206-594-1010 or check out the website at fieldstonecommunities.com. And I want to mention that we are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Salish people, specifically our neighbors, the Suquamish, who have lived on these lands and waters of the Salish Sea since time immemorial. We are learning from them to be good stewards, and we appreciate their guidance in that. Rob, I want to thank you very much for joining us this month. Every month, we have a little visit from somebody from the Bainbridge Island Photo Club, which meets here at the Senior Community Center. And this month, it's going to be Rob. If you happen to listen, because I started to send these podcasts out as audio on Spotify and Apple, you might find it more useful to go to youtube.com/BI Senior Center because you will see the images, but I've also got a link to them in the video recording. Thanks, Rob.
You're ready for me.
I'm ready for you. And are you ready for us?
Yes, I'll try to keep you awake as much as I can.
Okay.
Thank you all for showing up and devoting some of your nice sunny afternoon to this talk. I appreciate that. Not going to talk a lot about my history. I was retired architect for 45 years doing public work like universities and college stuff. And for the past 18 years, I've been doing photography. And most recently, I've been entering these international juried online shows. And online shows are becoming more prevalent because galleries are too expensive to operate. And you'll see more and more galleries probably, unfortunately, go along the wayside and people turning to online shows. To date, I've been selected actually 19 different shows, 17 of which are on the wall, and we're going to talk about that. So you can stay with that slide, read for a minute, and I am going to talk to you. And I really spend a little bit of time, I don't want to bore anybody, but I spend a little bit of time really thinking about what's my thought process and sort of philosophy towards photography. And I think it's a little bit different than others, and others may do it differently, which is totally fine. But I have my own unique way of approaching photography, I think, and for good or bad. So I'm just going to go down this list of things that I jotted down about what I think about the work I do, and just quickly share that with you and then move on to the pictures. I mostly think of my photos more as an attempt at contemporary art rather than photo images. That's not it, Reed. I'm just reading off some things that that I jotted down about my approach. So I think of mostly my attempts at contemporary art rather than creating photo images. My images are more about the idea of an image than the actual creation of it. I like to create the image based on an idea. I mostly make up my own story about what I'm shooting before I snap a picture. I sort of pre-think the picture and then shoot it. And shooting a picture is just a part of the process of the idea, shooting the picture, and then the execution of the final product. So there's a 3-step process there. And the idea of an image is really important to try to have that in your head when you start taking pictures. I focus and strive to look at things in the world from a different perspective than the norm. This is the essence of good art. We always need to experiment and see things from new perspectives. And I think I try to incorporate that into most pictures I take. Sometimes I just take a nice picture because it's a nice thing to look at, but most of the time I try to think about the image in terms of a new perspective. I don't shoot composed pictures of places or things to make them beautiful or appealing. I just focus on different ways of seeing them. And so I'm not really so much into beauty and creating a picture that appeals to everybody. I'm just wanting to look at the world from a different point of view. And whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, or it's pleasant to look at or not pleasant to look at, I just want to create a different way of looking at things. I have no real personal style or focus to my selection of subject matter. I see different subjects and try to make them look some way other than what they really are. And it can be lots of different subjects. I'm not into birds or landscape or portraits or whatever. I just shoot different things. I'm not very interested in the technical aspects of photography. My interest is really in the idea and the creative aspect of the image I'm taking. And I do know Lightroom really well. I know Photoshop, the light Photoshop, and the Nik series of color in black and white, and one other program, Topaz, and that's pretty much my knowledge of photography. I don't use Photoshop, which I think I probably could if I know Lightroom really well, but I don't use Photoshop. But I'm not really interested in dealing with the technical aspects of photography. I conjure up an idea, often set the idea up either physically or just see it in the environment. And if you look at my work, sometimes you'll see things that I actually not thought of, and then I actually made them and then photographed them. And sometimes it's just things I see. So I kind of do both of those things. Let me turn to we're almost done. I'm drawn to these contemporary art competitions, different than photo club stuff. I'm not really interested in competing about photography. I'm more interested in contemporary art and seek to be included with other art media in shows of abstractions in art on various different topics. That's what these all represent, these 17 pictures, is that they're really not competing so much as there's a topic that's proposed, and there are different responses across the art world to that topic. And I like that. I like that I'm not just competing with the photography, I'm competing with contemporary artists. And I'm not really competing, because in an exhibition, there's no winner, there's no first place, second place. There's just a selection of good responses to that topic. And I much prefer that approach to life. I am not one that believes in the best or what photograph is best, but I believe in what grouping of different creative responses to an idea or theme is worthy of recognition. Ultimately, there's no single best of a grouping, only a set of creative art responses. I am opposed to the best in most things. Too many variables on who is judging and the subject matter being shown. I am not at all an advocate of the Academy Awards. I just terribly bothers me that there's a best picture. I mean, there may be 10 pictures that are really good in their own way, and they should all be equally talked about in terms of success.
Of course, next month we'll be looking at the People's Choice Awards from the photographs of the photo club at the 4th of July, presented here at the community center. But that, I guess, I kind of like that because it's like a way to engage the audience in really looking. It's not the same as the Academy Awards by any means.
Yeah, and to be honest, Reed, I could argue with you about the pros and cons of that kind of a concept for the 4th of July, because I'm not a real firm advocate of it. I think the audience is so different depending on who's looking at it and what they're going to pick as the appropriate thing to be a winner. I just don't think it's a real way of looking at art, whether it's photography or whether it's other kinds of art forms. But anyway, that's me. And we don't need to talk about that. That's a whole separate issue. I use my skill set and creativity in my chosen art medium to interpret subjects and topics in my own way. As I said, I don't look for beauty as the defining approach and result. I look for an idea. So that's all I have to say about the way I look at photography, which is probably somewhat different than others. So Reed, move on, please. We got that. We've outworn our stay in that image. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on this much because it's up on the wall, but just this is the competitions that the following images relate to, and they're run by 4 different galleries online, and I respond to different ones depending on the topic, and I respond to topics that have something to do with images I've taken. So that's kind of the format for that. The competitions generally select, go back, Reed. There. The competitions usually select 75 to 125 artists from around the world, and in different art spectrums, painting, sculpture, fabric, so forth. The artworks have been from many different countries. I listed a few here, and there are many more, and it really is across the globe, which is interesting. And the responses somewhat show where they came from, but not always. The online 2-month shows each draw somewhere between 20 and 50,000 viewers, and they've had the Galerium group has had 3.76 million viewers, and the Exhibitio 2 million visits. Competitors were topic specific, which I don't need to cite those because you'll see them as we go through my images. Selection was defined by a 2-step process. First, an initial yes or no to get a short list of images that might be considered, and then review of that short list based on specifics of the type of show that it is. I don't need to talk about the last part there, Reed, because I'll talk about that at the end. So go ahead, Reed. Okay, I have these 17 images, and part of what I was going to do is just talk a couple sentences about how I created them. And then I also have, for all of these, but I'm not going to cite all of them, a comment on the show itself from Art Week magazine about the show. And some of them are really interesting, and I'll try to just highlight a few of those comments in Art Week magazine. This one, the Art Week magazine talked about the abstract show, and this was the first show I entered in 2023. I was successful, and then I wasn't successful for a while, and I kind of got out of the interest in it, and then I came back into it. Okay, Art Week magazine says about this abstract show, while a few have taken the proposal of abstract being an art for art's sake, that artwork should be simply about the creation of striking effects, other people have proposed that abstract art should be similar to music, in that just as music is patterns of sound, art's consequences should be created by patterns of form, color, and line. And that's their comment about the show. So anyway, this image was a number of you are very familiar with this, probably overly familiar with this. I took these 3 nights in cold January and went down to the Ferris wheel in Seattle and took images with different lenses. And this one and a number of them were all done over 6 seconds, 6-second long images. And they were using a combination of zooming, camera motion, and just long exposures, and then a combination of all 3. So I took many images, and this is one of my favorites. And this one I named Departure and Arrival. And this was the Ferris wheel rotating, and that's why you get the different colors, and the colors were changing as it rotated. And then in the upper left, the circle up there is as I zoomed in to 300 millimeters, that was the image that was left of the Ferris wheel, which is basically the center of it. And this was taken from the ferry dock, standing on the ferry dock, looking at the Ferris wheel. So, okay, go ahead, Reed. If anybody has any comments or anything, questions, I'm happy to stop and answer that. But this is a very simple image and not really an abstract one, but it's basically just two feathers overlaid one another. And these feathers were, my wife had them sitting on our dining room table, and I thought I could do something with them. So I just figured out a nice way to gracefully lay them over one another and shoot that image. And Art Week said about it, from the physical fragility of materials to the emotional vulnerability of the human spirit, this exhibit explores a myriad of subtle yet powerful narratives. That was, and Art Week has a long, lengthy thing on all these shows, but I'm just citing a couple of sentences of them.
But the
Okay.
theme here would be delicate. That would be the
Yes.
theme of the show.
Yes, I guess I could mention that, but although it's fairly obvious, but yeah.
Right. Well, I can see
It's
why
worth
it,
mentioning it. And some of them, the name of this one's just very simple, two feathers. Some of them I came up with more elaborate, interesting names, but this one's name isn't so interesting. But anyway, go ahead, Reed. Now, a number of you are familiar with this series. I have done many images of this, and I actually two different shows here put this or a similar image to this in another show. So this has gotten into two shows in different formats of the image. And this is Art Week magazine. This one sentence from them: the art exhibition is a vibrant celebration of the hues that define our lives, the shades that whisper and shout, the tones that soothe and ignite. That's a comment. And this was I have on my Mac a screensaver that I never use, and I just happened to stumble across it, which is these swirling, changing colors that like a rainbow evolve into one another, and it's moving around your screen with many different shapes. And I projected this on my large screen TV and just took my camera and just shot different little vignettes that I thought were interesting things to shoot. And this was just one of them. And this was done over, I think, 3 seconds. So you actually saw the little dots have some tail to them, a little bit like a comet. And then the colors obviously evolved into one another.
so the screensaver that you were shooting was not, it had dots, and and because you were giving it a little time to expose, you ended up with the trails.
Yeah, Reed, I'm not really sure whether they had a little bit of a trail or not, but and obviously when I put it on my big screen TV, it also blew it up, so that might have accentuated it too. But I do remember shooting it over a couple of seconds, so I assume there was some movement. So, Colorful Symphony, it's called. Now, this is probably one of the most simplistic images I entered in any of these competitions. The sky above, and I just like the image, and it obviously isn't an abstract image. It was just one I like the composition of it and the simplicity of it, and it made it into the show. And Art Week magazine said, artists have come together to capture the beauty, wonder, and limitless inspiration that the sky holds, from breathtaking sunsets and soaring creations to celestial dreams and abstract images. That's their comment about it. But I thought this was a pretty simple image, and I was surprised that it actually made it into a show. But it did. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple, but it's also got some great color and texture that I think make it interesting.
Yeah, and I liked the simplicity, and it's one person and a kite, and it's down to basics in terms of kite flying. That was at the Long Beach Kite Festival, which is in August. If you've never been to it, it's wonderful. There are so many great images to capture there. I've been there probably 10 times, and I always had something come home with it in terms of images. Okay, this one is circles, squares, and triangles. And this image was a shot of the lobby ceiling in Seattle Art Museum. And it has a grid ceiling, a 2x2 grid ceiling, and they have a structure overlaying the grid that supports different art forms. And this happened to be just one area where they had this sort of triangulated steel frame, and I liked it. and I thought that I could do something with it. So I just snapped a picture of it and then took it home, and I like sort of moaned around, look at it, added color to different portions of it. And obviously it covered the topic of both all three squares, circles, and triangles.
Yes, it meets the definition of
Yeah,
the
it meets
theme.
the criteria pretty well. So,
But it
yeah.
also looks like the sort of picture you could expect a retired architect to take.
Yeah. Well, it's not the sort of thing that most people would even notice was anything, looking up at the ceiling and seeing this stuff. So, it
And
was
it's
just
got kind of a Mondrian, is that how you pronounce the
yeah,
artist's name?
Mondrian,
Look to it.
yeah, it does. And I've actually taken this and done a few more color iterations of it that just are a different way to look at it. But anyway, I like the image. I like the composition, particularly of the shapes. So anyway. Okay, we saw this earlier. This is just another iteration of the same screensaver, and it's just again another composition of the screensaver that I liked. When I took a lot of these, and there were several that I really liked, and this was probably one of my favorites. Um, it yeah it and it made it into an abstraction
Nice.
show. So this one, I actually was kind of surprised that it made it into an exhibition that was called Shapes and Colors, because there aren't really any colors in this image. And this was a totally circular stair in a hotel in Reykjavik, Iceland. And it's a 9-story hotel. And I took a picture, and they actually had a really garish red carpet going down the stair. And I took a picture of, actually, I took a number of pictures of it. And then later I thought, well, I could maybe make that into something. And so I went into, I think it was Elements, Photoshop Elements, and did some tugging and pulling to the image to create these sort of odd shapes. And then I limited the red to more of a pastel red. And I like particularly the interaction of the steps, the way they kind of keep winding. It looks like they're going through the image and winding on down to the bottom. And I like that in the image, and in the forms I cared for a lot.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was a natural image like a shell or something. It has sort of a nautilus feel
Huh.
to it. But when I realized it was a stair, I felt like it was like Hunter S. Thompson descending the stair. It's got a psychedelic look to it too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, it was. I had taken the image some time ago, and then I've gone back to. I mean, I've been taking images since I can't remember how long, 18 years, and I sometimes go back and pull an image out. And now that I know more about editing and ways to look at an image, I go back and kind of take another shot at it. This was one of those that was sort of a second look at how to deal with it. Okay, this is emptiness. And this was one of the first images I ever took, actually. And it was, we all know where it was from, the Palouse. And I happened to be driving over there at sunset. And along the road, there was this shape of where they were tilling the land. And it just happened to have the sun way over to the right. And it was creating this sort of red area where this bright sun was hitting the soil. And the rest of this was in shadow, or shade, I guess it'd be, in shade. And I took this image, and this image actually, a number of years ago, I entered in an international competition where there were 12,000 entries, and it came in one of the top 100 honorable mentions. And so it's been liked by lots and lots of people, and it's one of my favorites too, and it's one I took a long time ago. But
Yeah, well, it's just a beautiful. You can spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's the subject, what's the field in this, and if the light is playing with what could be, how deep are the 3D, is that dirt, or are these big, tall, bits of rope or something that you're looking at? It's just amazingly engaging as a subject field, kind of back and forth. Your eye can play with this for a long time.
and
Hey,
here's
Rob,
yeah,
Rob,
yes.
um, I don't want to mess up your love of this picture, but it looks like a landscape.
I told you, Chuck, I took it a long time ago. I've grown better. I've grown out of that era, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or regress.
Pat,
I'm not sure which it is.
this is a past sin, right?
Yeah. Maybe I'll come back to it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Okay. This one is called Food Canvas. Was the topic, and this was just a simple name, slice of a tomato. And this you've seen. I think I had this in something in the photo club at one point. Art Week said about it, each brushstroke, each digital rendering, each photograph captures not just the image of food, but its soul, the moments it creates, the emotions it stirs, and the memories it holds. So I don't know about that with my tomato, but there it is. And this image was just simply, and it was, I think we had as a theme one month from the photo club, with theme was food. And I just put this sliced tomato on a green plate, and the green plate had these clear lines radiating from the center of the plate. And I backed it with red tissue paper, so you'd see red through those clear spots in the plate. And then I added three different vignettes over the top of one another, a light one, and then a medium one, and then a dark one at the outer edge. So it gave this sort of layered, almost like a I don't know. And it was put into a 1:1 format, so it sort of all worked together. But very simple photograph. So, go ahead.
Splat. It's great. I love it.
It does have that sense, yes. Okay, let's see. This one is again, Chuck. Back to you. This is from quite a while ago, and it was when I was just beginning to take landscape photography and turn it into something different than landscape photography. And this was the Grand Prismatic Pool in Yellowstone. And what I was mostly enamored with was the obviously the colors in it, because they were remarkable. But in this image, it was the play of the colors of blue and yellow and orange or red, and then the textural quality of the dark lines running through it, and sort of cap it off was the curvature of the little stream running off of the orange. So it again, it was a photograph from some time ago, but it's lots of people have liked it, and I like it a lot. And I thought it maybe was a form and figure, but I really didn't think it would make it to a competition. But some reason it was popular. So anyway, that's what I took some
It's
time
one of
ago.
my favorites. I love it.
Good. Okay, here's one that I really wasn't going to enter this competition because I'm not the least bit of a religious person. And I figured that a lot of the people entering this competition would be entering religious sorts of images, whether they're sculpture, paintings, or whatever. And I just happened to have this one image that I took in, you may know this, Diana, but in a small chapel in Hawaii, outside in the yard or in the garden. And there was a statue of, I think it's Madonna, but I'm not positive. And it was just covered with these puka shells and the necklaces. And I just thought it was really interesting that it was just had this sort of piling on of puka shells. And so I shot this image, and after this, I went and looked up puka shells because I didn't know anything about them. I thought, well, why are people doing this? What's so wonderful about it? And I looked it up, and puka shells have a connection to the ocean. They're good luck. They have a spirituality about them. They're a well-wishing symbol, and they take away the possibilities of negative things in your life. So I'm not quite sure how that related to this religious sculpture, but it obviously was something that lots and lots of people related to. So anyway, simple picture, and not exactly an abstract, but
So, but you did make some choices about color there, because I'm guessing that it had a little more depth of color than what we see in your rendition of it.
The only thing I think, Reed, that was, I mean, the shells are obviously white, right? The only thing that really was a little brighter than I had made the image was the one necklace that is the one that are the plastic colored flowers around just below her mouth. That one was a little brighter, and I dulled it down a little bit because I thought it was standing out too much from the image. So that's the only. Other than that, it was all pretty much monochromatic um, with these puka shells.
So that's kind of how it came to you. You didn't have to turn it into a monochrome image with just the color.
No, no, it was.
Oh, interesting.
That's a color image, and all I did was tone down the brightness of the reds and oranges, orange colors, and that's about the limit of what I did to it. But it was very much a white and black image. So
Speaking of white and black,
the rest of my thing are white and black. Let's see. So we're on to people. Okay, people. This image was shot in Hawaii in the Oahu, and we were staying there as vacation, and we were on the ninth floor of a hotel, the south end of the beach, and I was looking out of the balcony, and I saw this interesting pattern of darks and lights, and I couldn't figure out how could these triangles be formed, and it was because of the intersection of two parts of the building. It created these triangles of light, and there was just happened to be this one fellow in the second from the bottom triangle trying to get a little bit of sun in this almost sunless shadowed area. And so I shot him a number of times, and then I did some other pictures, and then this fellow just happened to walk through the far triangle, and I thought, wow. So I shot that, and the appeal to me in this image, and it's one of my favorites, is the play of the two people not really interacting or knowing one another. And I did call it an unknown connection of chance, that there was a commonality between them in some weird, odd way. And that, with the diagonal character of the triangles, in opposition to the texture of the beach with all the footprints and the waves, I like that composition of the play of those two things against one another. And let me just say what this one had to say in Art Week magazine. This art exhibition brings together faces, feelings, reasons, and activities that define us. Each brushstroke, each line, and each color echoes the universal emotions that bind us: love, hope, struggle, resilience, and joy. So that's, kind of a one-liner from the long list of things that Art Week talked about. So anyway, that's one of my favorites, and it's a very odd one. And I think a number of people, I think even Bob said, "Did you make that image up out of two images?" But no, it was shot from a balcony. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Humorous. This was in Copenhagen, at a major park downtown, and we just happened to be walking to go to a palace, and I just saw in the park this inflated elephant and these two kids sitting in front of it, not aware at all of what was happening around them. And one boy was on his iPhone, and the girl, I think, was scratching her eye or something. And I titled it "The Elephant in the Room." And as a humorous image, I think it has appealed to people. And I'm going to read the Art Week comment about this because it's important in our time we're in right now. In these trying times, we could all use a little more levity. But humor in art isn't just about comic relief. It's about truth told sideways. It disarms, disrupts, and digs deep. Whether through satirical portraits, ironic juxtapositions, or whimsical creations that blur the line between the real and the ridiculous, the artwork and humorists offer a safe, joyful space for bold ideas and quiet revelations alike. So that's that one. Okay, go ahead, Reed. Okay, everybody in this photo club knows this because I spent 3 different times in my 18 years studying slinkies. I think they're really a sculptural piece of metal, and I really enjoyed looking at them in different ways. And this one, the other ones were more, I think, artistic and simpler. This one just happened to be more comical and humorous, and appealed to the jury, I guess, in their exhibit. And this was shot with four slinkies, and I tied the slinkies together so they were a circle, each of them. And then I laid them on a mirror and shot them on a mirror, and the ones on the right are the mirrored image of the slinkies. And then I rotated it 90 degrees so they kind of stood up on edge. And then I have to say, this is cheating a little bit, but I went on Amazon and got a picture of a slinky dog and put it on top of these. It was like a rolling machine. So anyway, that was the creation of the image. And Outreach said it's a celebration of the memories that shaped us, the games that brought us together, and the toys that lit up our world with joy. Anyway, that's that one.
And you don't even have to own the toy to have it bring you joy, it turns out.
No, I own about 4 of them. Reed, I'll sell them to you cheap, probably.
The photo club will pitch in so you don't take any more pictures of them.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe done with Slinkies for a while. Okay, well, this one again is another one that's been seen a number of times in the photo club. And this is my wife and I were walking our dogs through a parking lot, and I saw these maple seeds in the parking lot, and I thought, oh, those are kind of interesting. Maybe I do something. So I went home, got a bucket, went back to the parking lot, loaded up a bunch of maple seeds, and then I went home and on my workbench in the garage created this sort of composition of maple seeds. And you know, when I created it, I always thought of these maple seeds were flying upward. But then as I thought of it more, when I look at it again, it looks like they could be flying downward. So anyway, my presumption was they were going one way, and after I created the thing, it started striking me that maybe they're going the other way. So anyway,
Well, they seem to
Okay.
have a lot more agency than just seeds falling buffeted by the wind because of the way you laid them out. They look like they're birds.
Yeah, well,
bit.
that was obviously the intent, Regis, to
Yeah.
have them look like birds and to try to organize them so they got smaller as they went up. So I had to pick seeds that got smaller as they went up to give some three-dimensional quality to the image. So the ones in the lower part are much larger than the ones in the upper part. So anyway, that was purposeful. So go ahead, Reed.
I thought you were going to tell us what Art Week had to say about Skyward.
Oh, okay. Skyward, the Art Week said about this. The exhibition explores the beauty, power, and mystery of the sky, from real creatures soaring through the air to mythical beings born of imagination, from symbolic representations of hope and freedom to abstract interpretations of the celestial. That's a one-liner. They had many more things to say about these shows, but it gives you an idea of what the idea of the show was, and there were lots of responses that were way different than my response. So go ahead, Reed. Okay, again, this is one that has been seen. In fact, I have a whole series of these that have been seen by the photo club, but this is a different one than I've shown in the photo club. And this started with over Virginia Mason. Everybody knows where Virginia Mason is. Before they built that housing project, there were a number of these 8-foot diameter culvert pipes sitting out there in the field, and they were there for a long time. And I kept looking at them thinking I could maybe make something of those culverts. And so I went and I just took a bunch of compositions of culverts from different perspectives and so forth. And my good longtime friend David Warren, when he saw them, he said, "You don't have anything in them that gives a scale to the size of the culvert." And he said, "You need a rat running through one or something," was his comment. And so I thought about it, and I thought, I don't think I'll put a rat in one, but maybe I can talk my wife into dressing up in her yoga outfit and doing some posing yoga poses inside one of these things. So anyway, that's what this was about. And this particular one that I submitted, Woman Contemplating Moving Forward, is what I named it. And the idea was to show her approaching the abyss and making a decision whether she wants to jump it, wants to go down it, or stay where she is. And so that was the sort of thought that went into it. And I did want her front leg to be in the light as she was stepping forward. So that was part of the composition of making it. And and it had some editing to get rid of all the stuff around the pipe. But anyway, I love these pipes. They were really fun to photograph. So
Yeah, talk about interesting. Well, I know that in a lot of these, we've seen your interest in line and circles and mechanical shapes, and this has got it in spades.
yeah, and I really enjoy doing these pictures and being over there, and the evolution of my idea. And that somebody I haven't talked about is that oftentimes when I have an idea about an image, the nice thing about not having to justify your hours to anybody is that idea can evolve as you work on it. And this was an evolution of an idea that was started out as just taking pictures of culverts. So anyway, that's part of
Right.
the
For
design process, is the evolution of an idea. So
the culverts were artists' inventory.
yeah, yes, and no, I think they're buried underground under the residential project at this point. Okay, this is the last one, and then we'll be done with this whole thing. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this one because to me, it's a really important aspect of where we are in life now. And the image itself, I shot a number of years ago in Alaska. I can't remember what city, and it was in a taxidermy shop. And these skulls of basically coyotes were on a table, and they were all kind of lined up like this. And when I shot the image, what I really wanted is I really wanted to look like it was a herd of skulls moving towards a direction, and with the focus of the beginning of the herd, the three in the lower left. And it was the movement and motion of that dead herd moving that was appealing to me. And I did shoot a number of these, but it was just really saddening to see the number of these things and the little value they had at this point being gone. And I did a number of images of this one and others where I actually took out, you can see right there, it says Coyote $79. And I took that out, and then I thought, well, this really tells part of the story. You know, this is the value man places on other kinds of animals in his world. And it's just like, it was sickening to me, even though it was a coyote, which were pretty readily available, particularly on Bainbridge. But still, it was a whole lost pack of a kind of animal. And so anyway, that appealed to me. Now I wanted to read you specifically, maybe it's the whole thing, on what Art Week had to say about this show, not just my image, but the whole show. What if the final cry of a vanishing species was not a sound, but a brushstroke? What if the last breath of a dying forest lived, not in leaves, but on canvas? Art has always been more than expression. It is memory, mirror, and momentum. And today, as the earth trembles under the weight of human neglect, art stands as one of the last urgent calls to awaken. Extinction Save the Planet exhibition is a global outcry, a visual symphony of warning, sorrow, and hope, presented through the eyes and hands of artists who have dared to face the truth. This exhibition gathers artistic visions from around the world, each wielding their art as a beacon in the darkness. From polar bears fading into abstraction to oceans gasping beneath plastic tides, from sacred trees bursting into flame to silent skies once filled with birdsong. This is the portrait of our Earth's fragile fate. Yet within every image lies not only loss, but resistance, resilience, and a plea. Do not turn away. You are invited not just to see, but to feel, to witness, to respond. Whether you're an art lover, a curator, gallery representative, collector, or simply someone who still believes we can make a difference, this is your moment to step into the dialogue. Let the works move you, challenge you, haunt you. Let them stir the ambassador in you, the part that can no longer stay silent while beauty perishes. So that's the comments, and it's so pertinent to our times, and we're moving in the wrong direction, unfortunately. But that's that. Now I have just a couple minutes of, I have, as a part of this exhibit, I'm including 8 images of other kinds of art that were in this images by other artists, for they can see the breadth of the types of images and the types of creativity that were involved in this one particular show. So go ahead, read, and I'll just show these images. I don't say much about them because, well, okay, this is just, I forgot about this slide, but this is, each of these shows created a catalog of all the works in the image. And in the lobby, I put a couple of these catalogs out just so anybody that's interested could look at the breadth of the types of art that were represented in these exhibitions. So go ahead, read. Okay, so this is just other people in the Extinction show, and I just, again, wanted to just show you to see what kind of art looked at extinction as a topic. And this is a perilous landing, and it's watercolor, different kinds of painting of one artist. Beautiful. Go ahead, read. This one actually it was purchased by somebody, I think. Yes, it was. And it's a painting, and actually it has gold leaf in the painting, but it does pretty clearly makes a statement. So go ahead, read. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. This actually is a wood sculpture, and you can see the what it's really trying to say about a vanishing species, and the little part of it that is useful to man, but man does away with them in spite of the limited use of them. This was a installation, and I think it's about 3 feet by 3 feet somewhere, and it's it's showing the different parts of mankind that are destroying the environment, and I thought it was pretty compelling. A painting on a wall, and this is it kind of speaks for itself, and I thought it was really well executed in terms of graphically representing what's happening. Go ahead, read. Okay, this is another one, obviously a large sculpture, I think in a gallery here, and that it's somebody had made that made it into the show. And it's, again, self-explanatory of what's happening there. Man destroying nature. This is the next to the last one, and this is a glass art, and this is a supposedly a chunk of an iceberg, and I think they're penguins on it, and it's just to illustrate how our seas are filling and our ice is melting. And I think this is the last one, and actually I put this one in because I think most of us have seen real photos of this very thing, and I've seen some more recently that next to the carcass of the bird there are piles of plastic, and it really is devastating to see, and we're not making much progress to getting away from that. But anyway, I put this one as the last one because it did come back to actually real images of photographs of the same thing. So that is it. That's the show.
That's the shows.
Yeah.
What and thank you for sharing the breadth and depth, and kind of a somber note to end on.
Sorry about that part.
Well,
I'm not really sorry.
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for putting this together, and putting together a great presentation that walked us through your thought process and your appreciation for the work that other people are doing too.
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me do this. Appreciate it. And Reed, thank you for
Bob,
doing the
you're-
sponsor of
you're-
all these things.
You're welcome.
I was just going to say thank you for sharing all of those incredible pieces. You do, and you inspire me with your expansive, creative mind. And I thought the way you read that piece at the end just practically moved me to tears.
It almost did me too.
Yeah. So thank you for inspiring us.
Thanks,
Yep.
Shane, you're always
So, Rob,
positive. Yes.
on the puka shells,
Yes.
that they may be unknowable. I had a friend in the army who was Hawaiian, and
Uh-huh.
he wore a puka shell necklace, and I asked him about it, and he
Uh-huh.
explained it to me, and then he said, because you're a haole, you won't understand.
I don't get that.
Well, Howleys are what we are, unless you're
Oh,
a
is that right?
non-Hawaiian. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
not
Well,
meant to
yeah,
be insulting, just mildly insulting.
Yeah.
Just the facts of the matter.
A fact of life, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I looked at the definitions for puka shells, I didn't find any that really fit why they were putting them on her, and except for generally speaking, you know, things to do with the ocean and nature, and I didn't quite
I'd
understand why it
explain it
was
for
so
you, Rob.
important.
Yeah, except I'm a Howley, so.
Oh, okay. Well, get an education, would you?
Okay, I
All
want to
right.
invite you all, the Photo Club meets here. It's a wonderful honor to be the host of y'all. And thank you once a month for coming to share some of the images, both in the lobby and online. So until next month, thank you.